So this is a podcast about engaging with the world. So the sun is finally coming out where I am, in the former Soviet Union. Done a few approaches today, really happy about that. But what I wanted to talk about was navel gazing and not engaging with the world. So I've noticed a lot of comments on the channel, and the subtext of most of these is that I'd estimate about 50% of the comments are along the lines of thank you for making this video. Now you're thanking me, which is great. Thank you for making this video. It helps me to understand myself, Or can you do a video about this? This will help me to understand more about myself and why I'm doing this kind of thing, So it's navel gazing. It's not engaging with the world. Now, I'm familiar with this because when I was younger, I was a little bit like this myself, and it can lead to some very unhealthy outcomes, and it can make you very upset in the long term, very depressed in the long term if you don't go out and engage with the world. So what do I mean by navel gazing? I mean just an obsession with yourself, and the end result might be that you're unhappy and maybe even depressed. But I think it stems from the same root, which is, being obsessed with yourself and thinking that everything revolves around you. Now, I did a video about this years ago. It keeps coming back to me on the channel. I even make videos saying about the socio-sexual hierarchy, for example, and saying, look, the primary purpose of the social sexual hierarchy is so that you can understand other people and predict what their behavior is going to be. And sure enough, every comment is, yeah, I think I'm a Sigma, or yeah, I'm definitely an Alpha, or yeah, thanks for that, that really helps me to understand myself, it's just, I'm not prompting you to say that, but, these comments keep coming that you're just thinking about yourself all the time. So, long term, if you do this, people will get tired of you, and I'm not just talking about women. I think, to attract women, you do have to like yourself, you have to have a high self-esteem, but that doesn't come from thinking about yourself constantly. In actual fact, it's the reverse, High self-esteem comes from doing things that you might find challenging or difficult and overcoming them, that kind of thing, not just constantly thinking about yourself and worrying about yourself and that kind of stuff. So I think the only way to get around this is to engage with the world. So examples of engaging with the world. I mean, it's a big ask to start from nothing and just start approaching women. I understand that, but there are intermediate steps you can take. So one thing you can do. I talk about dealing with reality in Primal, Seduction and Secret Society. One thing you can do to start off to engage with reality is, for example, go to the gym and try and lose some weight. So, to lose fat, you have to be on a calorific deficit. The weight drops off. To build muscle, you have to hit the iron and go to the gym. And there's no hiding from it, there's no getting around it, and there's no excuses that you can make which will make your body do one thing or the other. Only by taking action will you do something about it. Now, if you think about the socio-sexual hierarchy, you think about gammas, for example. Let's just take a look at a gamma. The gamma, one of their characteristics is that they don't deal with reality. They create delusion bubbles. So they try and hide from reality. So a lot of gammas end up overweight. And if you try and challenge them about it and say, you should go on a diet and lose some weight, they'll make up, a list of excuses why they can't lose weight, or why they can't go on a diet right now, or why they can't hit the gym, etc. But it's basically avoiding reality. Now, a piece of iron is not going to answer you back. You might get an injury if you approach it incorrectly or try and lift it incorrectly, but it's not going to answer you back. It's not going to give you negative feedback. So it's an easy way to start for a gamma, for example, to go to the gym, lose weight, and start dealing with reality. Another thing you can do, just talk to somebody, anybody, talk to a friend. If you haven't got a friend, call your parents, call them on Skype if you're not living at home, talk to people, deal with the world, don't just deal with the world inside your own head, navel gaze, obsess about yourself, talk about yourself all the time. People don't want to be around it. I mean, the fact is, and I hate to say it, but you are not all that interesting, you are to yourself, but nobody else really finds you that interesting if all you kind of talk about is yourself. There are people better looking than me, and you, that deal with reality. There are people with a bigger cock than I am that deal with reality, that go out and chat to women, build things, write books, talk to other people. that have a job that has a lot of responsibility. There are people that are more intelligent than I am, and you. There are people that are taller than I am, and you. You know, there's always someone better than you. So you really are not that important or that interesting to anybody else aside from yourself. How you become more interesting is you know, by developing some sort of personality, but dealing with reality and dealing with the world, and thinking about other people and talking to other people, and thinking about their needs and wants as well as just your own. You know. Now I think this is why the pickup industry is unhealthy and wrong, to be frank. Again, to repeat, yes, you have to like yourself, but being sort of narcissistic, thinking about yourself constantly, and especially if it turns into kind of navel gazing and worrying about yourself, and that's all you think about, is profoundly unattractive to both men and women. You know, so you could start off, like I say, losing some weight, going to the gym, then call other people. Another example is to take yourself outside of yourself, is to go in nature, you know. I've been in Kiev, the weather hasn't been great, so the other day I went to the zoo. You know, I've been to the zoo 2 or 3 times now. Like, it's beautiful to look at these. It's incredible to look at these beautiful, majestic animals and realise that really I ain't all that, you know, compared to these incredible things, you know. And to look at them living their own life. I mean, you know, they're caged up, but they are majestic creatures. They're God's creatures, you know, and they have just as much right to be here as I do. And it's interesting that, you know, they don't think about themselves at all. In fact, they don't think at all. They're just sort of there doing their thing, engaging with their own little world, you know, caged up. And it just takes you outside of yourself to see nature and God's creatures around you, to realise that you're not that significant, you're not that important, and that there is more to life than just navel gazing and thinking about yourself. So that's it, really. I mean, start off small if you're struggling to approach, you know, because obviously women will give you feedback, and the feedback is not going to be positive when you start out, quite possibly. And I'm not saying they're going to eye roll and you know, they're not going to hit you, obviously, they're not going to be nasty to you, but you know, you'll get flakes, you'll get rejection, but suck it up and deal with it, because if you don't, somebody else is. And there are lots of men out there that are dealing with reality. And if you don't join the party, you're just going to be navel-gazing your whole life, getting deeper and disappearing deeper and deeper up your own arse, thinking about yourself, and then leaving comments on my channel, which I find profoundly irritating too. So, go out there, deal with reality, and do something. Anything. I'll speak to you soon.